Well, hi everybody, Louise Edington, Cosmic Owl of Cosmic Owl Astrology, back today with you to talk about the moon's nodes moving from Aries and Libra, where they've been for about the last 18 months, 18 and a half months, and they're going to spend the next about 18 and a half months in the signs of Pisces and Virgo. Now, the nodes return to a sign, so they have a cycle of about 18 and a half years too. So it's 18 and a half months, 18 and a half years. This is really a lunar cycle. But like everything at the moment, this nodal shift is really big. Now, I'm going to quickly go back, and I'm not going to look at the charts, but I'm going to tell you that the nodes were last in Virgo and Pisces from June the 19th, 2006 to January the 7th, 2008. And before that, it was November the 8th, 1987 to May the 27th, 1989. And then before that, it was March 28th, 1969 to October 16th, 1970. I'm not going to keep going back. But I've looked back at these times, and of course, the areas of your chart where you have Pisces and Virgo, you may be able to look back and kind of get an idea of the areas of life that were the focus of the moon's nodes in Virgo and Pisces. But this one is just like everything at the moment. It's really on steroids. But with the North Node in Pisces, we're seeking really more fulfillment and meaning. Kind of the realities we've clung to are fading away, and we yearn for something deeper, more meaningful, and it's kind of like this call of the unknown. But like I said, this one's really extra. So it's like this spiritual growth thing as we've moved from focusing on finding out who we are and then taking a stand and not playing nice anymore with Libra South Node. Now we are searching for practical ways to fulfill what might be our spiritual purpose, you could say, or the purpose of love. So we have the North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo. And the North Node amplifies, pushes us to explore uncharted territory for us. And then the South Node distills, it pares down to essence and asks us to release any accumulation of shadow. So I love that Astro Butterfly. She wrote a blog post on these nodes, and she said, think of the North Node as an unripe, half green, half red tomato, full of potential and eager to mature. And think of the South Node as a sun-dried tomato, concentrated flavor, lessons condensed, its work largely complete. I don't know if I completely agree with that, but that's a good analogy. But anyway, I find this nodal shift from Aries Libra, so the North Node in Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, going back into the last sign of the zodiac, probably a more profound shift than any shift in signs for the nodal axis. So I'm not going to talk much about where we've been because I want to talk about where we're going. But the nodes work in tandem. They're always balancing, always recalibrating. The South Node, in a way, is kind of like the instinctive habit and problem that we're kind of coming in with. Learning more of the North Node can help us do the South Node in a healthier way. So the South Node is not inherently bad and the North Node is not inherently good. It's a coming to balance between the extreme practicality and critical and filing energy of Virgo and the meaning of being useful and doing right work with this kind of cloud of unknowing and connection with interconnectedness and higher love that can be Pisces. So I do want you really to get away from North Node good, South Node bad. They complement each other, and I call it like the practical mystic. But the North Node is in Pisces. We're really drawn to go deeper and to move into that quantum realm, for want of a better word, into really this connection with whatever the divine is. It's kind of like the Da Vinci fingers, right? And so, it's, to my mind, this is this melding of the right brain, left brain in a big way. Okay, so the creative and the imaginative and the expansive with the detail and the science and the getting to work. So it's about bringing them back together. Okay. So with the North Node in Pisces, you're encouraged to really kind of step off into the unknown, to step into those imaginary realms and go to places that you've never dreamed of. But the South Node in Virgo keeps you grounded, but reminds you to bring that back down to earth in a more meaningful way, whatever you've learned. So, the Virgo, the South Node kind of is about purging, tidying up, cleaning up, very Virgoan, right? Doing away with what's no longer working that doesn't help you to bring these two into balance. Okay, so in other ways of kind of saying things, we could say, bear with me, sorry, I just had the wrong page. I wrote my list. And 1 second. Anywhere where we have been overgiving to the point of servitude, perhaps with the South Node in Virgo, where we tend to be overly humble, not just healthily humble, and where we tend to like kind of bow and scrape and go, yes, yes, and whatever you want, that can be very Virgo. But also we're being asked to kind of, where we overanalyze things instead of dealing with facts and a bit of trust, analysis paralysis, perfectionism. These can all be shadow areas of Virgo that we're being asked to kind of work on letting go and surrendering something to. So it could be over criticism, lots of fault finding. You could find yourself being overly critical of anything. And you're being asked to kind of step back from that and just let go and realize that nothing is perfect or everything is perfectly imperfect. Okay. And it's also a bit inflexible, the shadow of Virgo, and Virgo is a mutable sign, so it needs adaptability, right? So you're being asked to move more into non-judgment, compassion, surrendering to a higher power, perhaps meditation and self-reflection and focusing on that connection with whatever, it is for you, the divine, and trusting in positive outcomes instead of always worrying about what might happen or the worst, or, going, well, we could all be doomed. Well, might not all be doomed as well, so why not think positive? And about welcoming change. So it's a big, big shift. Anyway, so there is a real purging and cleansing energy with Virgo and Pisces, kind of purging some old rigid ideas and things that you're very stuck to. This is the way it's always been done, and letting go and letting God more. So, but why is this shift so profound? Now I'm just going to get my chart up and show you. Wow, that would come up. Okay, so I will come back to that in a minute. So this is where we're at today. Where's my share? The nodes, I used a true calculation of the nodes. They moved back in on the 11th, so 2 days ago. So I've actually recorded this video. This is the third time because I'm like, oh, I meant to say that or whatever. Anyway, or I said, rambled on too much. But anyway, the North Node is now back in Pisces. And you can see it's moving pretty fast right now. It's already moved almost halfway through the 29th degree, the last degree of Pisces. And that's because we're just past halfway through eclipses. The node's progress in reverse will start to slow down as we head towards the eclipses, and we have eclipses coming up on March the 14th and March the 29th. And eclipses are always new and full moons in the sign of, or very close to the nodes. Sometimes the nodes are in one sign and the new or full moon is in another sign. But in March the 29th, we have a solar partial eclipse coming up. Sorry, but March the 14th is a blood red moon. This is a big one, and it's total. And that one is going to be very close to the nodes. I will show you in a minute. But then we have a solar partial eclipse on March the 29th. That's at 9 Aries, but the nodes are in Pisces and Virgo. So you can see that's split signs. But that's not all. So nodes are always involved in eclipses. But what we have happening now, let me explain something to you with my arrows, because I hope you'll learn a little bit about things here. So we have what's called a world point at 0 Aries, and 0 Libra is another card. All the card at 0 degrees are the cardinal signs. So Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, and Aries first, of course, are world points. And that's generally because they begin the seasons. Like when the sun hits 0 Aries, it's kind of starts the season beginning with Aries, and they are the equinoxes and the solstices. But we've just had the North Node at 0 Aries, and that is lunar maximum. So one thing that's making this heightened, in addition to the eclipses, is that we are at lunar maximum, and it's kind of at a standstill. So what happens is the lunar path goes kind of in this figure 8, like a lot of things do. And when it reaches its most northern declination or southern declination, we're either at lunar maximum or lunar minimum. Now, remember, the nodes are in a sign for about 18.5 months, and the nodal cycle is about 18.5 years. Well, lunar maximum is every 18.5 years. So we were last in lunar maximum on those dates I told you. When the North Node is in Virgo, halfway in between, that's lunar minimum. So 0 degrees of Aries is a very important point. It's also like the first degree of the zodiac. It's beginning something, it's new things, it's birthing something. So look where everything is now. And again, I'm just going to draw some things on here for you. In fact, shall I highlight? Yeah. All right. So, we've got this, all this here. Okay. So you can see at this point, we have Venus here, Saturn here. This is Nessus, who is the revealer of abuses of power, and Neptune. And Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011, 2012, because of coming back and forth, and is heading out of that journey. So that's big as well. And at this point, we have Mercury here. So I'm going to clear all these lines. And I want to show you where all this is going with this North Node. So I'm kind of just going to move it a week along at a time, so you can really see the progression of all of this and why my Venus retrograde class is so major, right? Okay, it's coming up. So by this point, you can see that things are moving all tighter and tighter and tighter together. Now Mercury is heading towards it. So a week later, so it's about the same. And then Mercury is now in Aquarius on its way. Now Venus is on its way out of Pisces, but is about to cross that 0 Libra part, but is heading towards her retrograde. So I'm just going to bring it on a couple of weeks. Now we have Mercury in Pisces too, and the Sun is about to enter, but Venus is over here in Aries. And then Venus is now at her station retrograde point. Just look at this though. I mean, so look at this concentration of planets in the early part of the 18-month journey of the nodes through Pisces and Virgo. We now have Ceres, the Sun, Nessus, revealer of abuses of power, Mercury, Saturn, North Node, Neptune, and then Venus will station retrograde. So I don't want you to get too stuck up on the dates, because I'll be writing about them and talking about these things all along. And if you do my Venus retrograde class, well, you will really learn about this in depth. So when Venus goes retrograde, the moon is there, but then we've still got all of this energy here in Pisces. We're kind of welcoming the North Node, but they're all moving towards the North Node. So this period is massively, massively concentrated energy of rebirth. Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac, kind of breaks down, kind of dissolves, a bit like a caterpillar in its chrysalis. Everything is dissolved and then rebuilt, remade into something else. And then moving into Aries, that Aries new point where the North Node has been, where the world point is going to be a rebirth. Okay, so Venus stations retrograde. And then I'm not going to go through all the aspects, can't, because there's so many. But then, so that's March the 1st. Then on March the 15th, yes, it's kind of dipped below, but look at this. Mercury stations retrograde, and all of this starts heading back here. This is just amazing. And then we're just going to go weeks on again. So Venus and Mercury are heading back. On the 22nd, later that day, at 2 Aries, we have the new Venus star point, very close to that world point. And then Neptune is on its way out of Pisces. Look at this. Venus goes back in, meets Neptune. Venus meets the North Node. Then Venus will meet Saturn. I'll show you more as we go along. And this is going to happen 3 times. She goes over and back, over and back. And then Mercury also goes back into Pisces, meets Neptune, meets the North Node, has met Neptune by this point, catches up to Venus pretty much, and then they all catch up to Saturn. And then Ceres and Nessus are heading there. This is so concentrated, guys. And also, just to say one thing, Venus and Mercury are the 2 most personal planets, and the Sun. And so we've got the Sun, then Mercury, then Venus, then Earth. And so all of those 3 that we are closest connected to the middle of our solar system, are in this mix, right? Anyway, so at this point, you can see Venus is about to station retrograde. And then Venus moves forward, back over Saturn again. Mercury's already on his way forward. And Venus starts moving back towards Neptune and back towards Aries, and leaves the North Node behind. But then the North Node comes and meets Ceres, the Great Mother. And we do have some aspects to Pluto too, but I consider this to be kind of Ceres, the Great Mother, in major grief about what we're doing to each other and the planet. and grief, loss, forgiveness, but also reunification, possibly, if we choose. And then as we move forward and Venus has moved back into Aries, Ceres comes up to Saturn, but the North Node is moving that way. They're all moving away from each other. Venus now has passed this is May, Venus has passed the degree that she stationed retrograde at. Mercury's moved on. Neptune's now solidly in Aries, but we'll go back to Pisces just for a little while. And then I'm going to include my centaur Nessus in all of this, because he has been really active in revealing the abuses of power. But by May, you can see that Ceres has moved over that world point and has been conjunct Neptune. Neptune has one more, the North Node has one more aspect, because even when Neptune and Saturn dive back into Pisces because of their retrogrades, the North Node has moved on. We're past the first eclipse season, and then the North Node. So again, don't get caught up in too many of these details. As usual, I will give you plenty of information about the exact. Oh, sorry, that's a ridiculous thing I did there. Sorry. The North Node will finally meet Nessus on June the 25th, 2025. And now I'm going to go back, get my pen, and go look at this now. When the North Node goes this way and Nessus goes that way, the North Node has very little left to meet in the sign of Pisces. In major aspects. Of course, there's always going to be squares and, things like that. But the North Node will oppose Mars eventually. That's in July, because the Mars will be moving on. But then the North Node, look at this empty space for quite some time. It's all concentrated through this period now, January, right through to June, July. We're going to have the North Node traveling over so many big change agents, going through Venus retrograde, going through a Mercury retrograde, going through 2 eclipses, going through still at lunar maximum or lunar standstill, right? And by the time this, all ends, the lunar standstill is starting to fade away and things are going to head back towards lunar minimum in 9.5 years. So this 6-month period is just enormous, and it's all in this first and last sign. If I could kind of sum it up, with Pisces kind of being this cosmic soup of creation, this catalyst, this breakdown and dissolving of the old and purging and washing away of the old, but also this building up this connection with source and spirit, like that more quantum wave kind of energy. It's then all going to move towards Aries, the other planets, the personal planets, the builders of life, and say it's time for a new start. The world is going to look so different coming up. We're in this birth canal. This is the amniotic fluid, this Pisces. Now then, I'm kind of going to just move you months ahead. I'm not going to go through exact aspects, because you can see by August, the North Node is at 18 Pisces. I do just want to, let's get the eclipses. We do have then, in September, we have a lunar total eclipse, another lunar total eclipse in the sign of Virgo and, Pisces and Virgo, with the moon here. But you can see the moon, the North Node has moved away from all of these. Saturn and Neptune are retrograde, but they're never going to connect again, all these energies, right? And then so we always have 2 or 3 sometimes eclipses. On September the 21st, we have a partial solar eclipse. and that is at the anaretic degree of Virgo, 29 degrees. That's big for other reasons. But as you can see, this North Node it's conjunct the eclipse, but opposing, but it's got this empty space of Pisces, right, to still kind of go through. So let's go to October first. Okay, so after the eclipses, as they start to move apart, we'll go forward another month. Venus has moved right the way to the opposite side, so she's going to fulfill some lessons she learned during her retrograde, but more on that later. Here's Pisces at this point. The moon comes back round every month, but Nessus kind of retrogrades close to the North Node, but I don't think they meet again. Then into December, the North Node reaches halfway through the sign, and Nessus is moving away. Saturn is direct again, so it's heading back into Aries final time. Ceres has moved into Aries. Neptune will be heading back. Then on January the 1st, the North Node at 10 Pisces, just separating from these big change agents that we had during this early part. February the 1st, 2026, the North Node's back at 9 degrees. We do have a ton of stuff coming up towards it, but it's mainly the faster moving energies. The slower moving energies have changed. Saturn and Neptune will meet at 0 degrees Aries as the North Node is heading out. So I'm actually going to just take you to the North Node at 00 Pisces, just to show you the end journey. But honestly, this first 6 months is just nuts. So the North Node will meet 0 degrees, 0 minutes of Pisces on July the 26th, 2026. There's a couple more eclipses in early 2026, yes. But my point is that after this condensed period that we're just entering now, so where the North Node has moved into Pisces, is going to meet Neptune, is going to meet Saturn, then Venus is going to go over 3 times, then Mercury is going to go over 3 times, and all of this is a breakdown and a breakthrough to a new beginning. This is birthing something pretty major, I think, to be quite honest, and it's going to be a really interesting time to watch. As you know, I tend to try and watch everything. So we have, so much happening around the lunar maximum. We're in solar maximum too. We have a Venus retrograde that's speaking to Mars retrograde. We have a Mercury retrograde that happens within the Venus retrograde. And it's all happening, crossing over that world point, 0 Aries, over and over again, and crossing over the North Node, which is where we are headed, what we are trying to do more of. You're birthing something very new, spiritual upgrade, whatever you want to call it, finding really meaningful work. I go back to all those meanings of that Virgo Pisces axis. I really see it as finding this more meaningful, purposeful life and less attached to the material, but more interconnected. It can be a beautiful time, but it is going to be a time of chaos, because Pisces is also the energy of chaos. So just buckle up, basically. Join my Venus retrograde class. It will really help you through it. Honestly, I think it will. I keep getting download after download. But this journey of the nodes through Pisces and Virgo is not an ordinary one. Yes, it's lunar maximum every time this happens, or at least at the early 6 months of it. But with the Venus and Mercury retrograde and all the other things, and Neptune, leaving. By the time we come out of this, Neptune will be fully in Aries and will not be back for 165 years. This is just amazing times, guys. So I would, if I could give any advice with Virgo Pisces energy, is really kind of to step into that priestess energy and really kind of think of how you can be more loving and more useful and more meaningful and less critical and less escapist as well, but really kind of step into whatever you feel like your spiritual kind of purpose is. It doesn't have to be work, but just it's just this heightened energy of a consciousness raising and dissolving of the old consciousness. It's kind of like a breakdown to break through, or it's the difference between boundaries and boundlessness as well. That's another one. So much love. Love you.